If I don't know what my purpose is, then I don't have to put myself out there and take the risk. And if I don't know what my purpose is, I can sort of always stay in the comfort zone, in the safe zone, doing what I know, protecting myself, protecting my ego, not having to go into the unknown. Because if I don't know what my purpose is, I can't really pursue it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SCALEit Method podcast, where we teach you how to reach the next level in business, build your dream team, and scale beyond 8 figures. Too many business owners are stuck trying to do everything themselves, and their businesses are suffering as a result. And I don't want you to be one of those people. I'm Allison Maslan, and my company, Pinnacle Global Network, has helped thousands of business owners scale their companies using our framework, the SCALEit Method. All business owners face similar challenges when it comes to growth. And so on this podcast, we are delivering the tactics you need to finally reach that next level in business and in your life. And I am so excited. I have a dear friend who I'm just excited to finally connect with again after some time. He's been on the show before. His name is Kute Blackson, and he is a beloved inspirational speaker. He is a transformational teacher. He is a life changer. He has spoken at countless events all over the world. He's spoken at A-Fest, YPO, EO. He is a member of the Transformational Leadership Council, on and on and on. He really is helps people to break through all of the limits in their life and help them reach their dreams. His mission is simple: to awaken and inspire people across the planet to access inner freedom, live authentically, and fulfill their true life's purpose. Who wouldn't want that? So, Kute, welcome to the SCALEit Method.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I think it's been a couple of years, or maybe a year and a half, since we did the last one, and you just come out with your incredible book, which we'll talk about a little bit. But you've helped thousands of people find their purpose, find out who they are born to be. When did you know this was the path for you?
I don't know if there was one specific moment. I remember being a very young kid. I was born in Ghana, West Africa, but I grew up in London. My mother's Japanese. And I remember being around 6 years old and feeling this deep, I felt people very deeply. And so I was a very empathetic kid, so I would feel people's pain. And there was always a part of me that wanted to help in some way, even as a child, but I didn't know what that would look like. And so I think the knowing came very early. Just a bit of background for, I don't know if we talked about this in our last interview or not, but my father was considered a miracle worker, believe it or not. People often ask, was the stuff real? I grew up seeing blind people see and deaf people hear and people stand up in wheelchairs. He built 300 churches in Ghana, West Africa, a huge church in London, 5,000 people literally every Sunday. You could call it kind of a mega church. And so when I was age 8, I began speaking in my father's churches. That's when my speaking career began. When I was 14, I was ordained as a minister, and but basically my entire life was scripted out for me. And I was kind of told who I was going to be and what I was going to do. And, as a young kid, I knew that that wasn't my path, but I didn't know that there was another way to inspire people. And so as a young kid, I think when it began happening was around 10, 11, 12, I began reading and became obsessed with self-help books. I read Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Stephen Covey, Tony Robbins, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra. The Chicken Soup for the Soul, Victor Hanson, Jack Canfield. So it became personal growth became my obsession, became my passion. I would go to school, come home, do my homework, exercise, and read for 4 hours every night. And so as a kid, I would dream about helping people and inspiring people and transforming lives. And now a whole new world opened up to me in terms of seminars. People are doing, writing books and giving seminars. And so I would sneak into and this is, I think, when I really knew, around 14, I would sneak into my father's church. We lived behind the church in a small apartment. I would sneak into the church in the middle of the night with the lights off. Everything was pitch black. And I would give seminars. Imagine a 12, 13-year-old kid. I would give seminars to the empty chairs, imagining I was inspiring people. And so I had visions of inspiring people from a very young age. But the pivotal shift happened was when I was 18. That's when I had to make a choice. I chose not to go to university. Figured if I want to help people with life, I have to live life, and life has more to teach me than a traditional education. So I made the crazy bold decision at the time. Said I'm not going to university. I looked into my future and I saw I could take over my father's organization and church and follow the expected path. But if I don't have myself, then what kind of success is that? And so I felt a calling in my heart to come to America. I wanted to go and meet many of the teachers, the mentors, the self-help icons that and learn from them. And so at 18, I had the conversation with my father, renounced everything, left everything behind, and won a green card in the lottery that brought me to the US, and 2 suitcases, $800 in my pocket. One in LA, landed here and began my dream. And so from that moment, I would say there was a very clear sense of knowing, a clear impulse in my soul that what I felt was guiding me. And sometimes what your soul guides you to do, or the intuition that you feel to follow a direction, doesn't always make sense to your logic and your mind. And so brought me to the US. And
wow. And to the people around you too, they probably thought that you had lost your mind.
Totally thought I was crazy.
Yeah. But you know what? Because I'm such a big believer of vision and visualization and manifesting. And I do this every morning. It's just become a big part of my life. And here, that's exactly what you did. Here you are, you're 8 years old, you're standing there in the dark, speaking to this, like you were called to this. It sounds like to me from what you just shared, and you called this life to you as well. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of bumps and U-turns along the way.
A lot of bumps in the road. Yeah. I remember when I was 18, when I came to the US, the American dream. I'm like, I want to be a millionaire. You see all these infomercials on American TV. And long story short, but I ended up joining a multi-level network marketing company. It was called TPM, a satellite-based TV network dedicated to personal growth. I don't even know how I was enrolled in this company, but long story short, all of the icons, this was before the YouTube and the internet, all of the self-help icons were part of the faculty and programming. And so I joined this thing. I end up at the national convention in Dallas. I signed up a bunch of people knowing basically nobody. And the president of the company throws me on stage as a testimonial for the company and recruiting. And there were probably 20,000 people in the Dallas Arena, Dallas Convention Center. And I'll never forget, as an 18-year-old kid, I look out in the audience. On the front row, there is Les Brown. There is Jim Rohn. There was Mark Victor Hansen. There was, Stephen Covey, Brian Tracy, all of my icons. And I'm speaking for 10 minutes. And everything about my life made sense because I saw that everything from my childhood had prepared me for that moment. And I'll never forget too, at the end of that day, I got off stage and we were in the lobby of the hotel and I get a tap on my shoulder and someone says, Jim Rohn would like to speak to you. And what nobody knew was, as a 13, 14-year-old kid, I saved up everything I had, which was probably $500, and ordered the entire Jim Rohn set. And what nobody knew was Jim Rohn as a kid, was one of my icons. And then he sat with me at this table and he gave me so much beautiful advice. And he said, kid, you're going to go a long way. And it was a special full circle moment.
I just got chills from that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I watched a lot of videos from Les Brown, studying his work and so forth. And I was leading an event, one of our Pinnacle Global Network events several years ago. And this woman walks up to me and says, we were on a 10-minute break or something. She said, I have Les Brown on the phone and he would like to talk to you. It blew me away. And then he ended up coming to speak a couple weeks later because this woman actually knew him on our stage. And it was I have a video of it and it was an amazing experience. So I totally get that. But here you had dreamed of all this and there you were on stage and there. I love
18
that.
years old. 18 years old.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
incredible. And so you've spent years really, of course, educating yourself, and now you've taken people on these incredible journeys. And I'd love to talk a little bit about that. But do you feel, Kute, in the work that you've done, do you feel most people are out of touch with their purpose, or do you think they know it, but they don't have the courage maybe to go for it? What do you think?
I think deep down, there's a part of us that knows everything. There's a sense that we are connected to everything, but in certain ways, we are sometimes disconnected with what we feel, or we're avoiding what we feel. Sometimes it's easier to sort of play, even if it's unconscious and unintentional. Like, well, I'm not really sure what my purpose is. I don't really know what I have no clue what my purpose is. Let me find my purpose and take 20, 15, 30 years to kind of find my purpose, because deep down, if I don't know what my purpose is, then I don't have to like put myself out there and take the risk. And if I don't know what my purpose is, I can sort of always stay in the comfort zone, in the safe zone, doing what I know, protecting myself, protecting my ego, not having to go into the unknown. Because if I don't know what my purpose is, I can't really pursue it. So if I don't know what my purpose is, I can always have the future possibility of living my purpose down the road in the future, that future hope, rather than launching that business, rather than writing that book, rather than putting myself out there, facing the potential failure, the potential risk, the potential ridicule, the potential judgment. I can stay safe if I don't know what my purpose is. So I think deep down, there's this part of us that has a sense. There's a part of us that has a intuition of what it is. And I always tell people, one of the things I think also stops us from truly following our purpose is we have this idea that we need to know exactly what it is. We need to know exactly the form, the vehicle, the outcome, the package. We have to have it all figured out. And I think we don't. You don't have to know the specifics of your purpose in order to live it. And what I encourage people is stop trying to find your purpose. Instead, just take a step and follow the impulse of your intuition, of your soul, of your guidance. When you take a step, then what I found is life then reveals to you the next step. Then you take another step. So you go in the direction of what turns you on, go in the direction of what you love, go in the direction of what makes you come alive. If you're like, well, I'm not sure, just go in that direction. As you go in that direction, you take a step, life reveals the next step. You take another step, life reveals the next step. You take another step, life reveals the next step. And what I've seen ends up happening is you end up kind of living into your purpose. And sometimes the very expression, the format, the packaging of what your purpose is may not be the expression that you thought, because often we're trying to figure out what our purpose is going to be from the current level of our development, from the current lens and level of our conditioned mind, from the current level of our consciousness. And as our consciousness evolves, as we expand, we're able to see more opportunities, more possibilities, we become more available to life. Then your purpose also evolves as you evolve in your own consciousness. And so I think purpose is constantly evolving. So if you could just go in a direction and take a step, life reveals to you the next step in the process of living life itself. And then I always invite people, okay, ask, what do I love? What turns me on? What makes me come alive? But then also ask, what specific skills do I have? Because you might say, well, I love basketball, but I'm never going to be Shaq or LeBron or, Kobe. It's just, it's not my thing. But if you look at what tangible skills do I actually have based on my lived life experience, and part of why I tell people, don't wait till you figure it all out, because even if you go in the direction and you work that job that you don't like, and many times we say, well, that's not my purpose, so I'm not going to do it. But you don't know if that job that you're working right now as an assistant, as a production manager, as an event coordinator, as a social media person, even though it may not be your ultimate purpose, you don't know the things that you need to learn and the skills that you need to develop in that position, in that situation, in that experience. is a part of the puzzle piece that is necessary for the actual purpose. And so if you don't take that step and you sit on the sidelines, you won't develop yourself and learn the lessons and develop the skill sets that is going to be necessary when when the stage for the actual purpose of your life comes along. And so look at the tangible skills that you have. Everything that you have been through is part of the preparation that life is giving you. And then I would say, look at, I tell people, ask yourself how you can truly be of service. To me, being successful and making money is not just about focusing on making money. I think people get caught up on how do I make money? I say focus on being of service. And you're of service when you're able to solve someone's pain, someone's problem, someone's challenge. When you solve someone's pain, problem, or challenge, that may show you where your purpose lies. And if you go in that direction, money is simply an energetic exchange when you solve someone's pain, problem, or challenge. And lastly, look at which group of people you feel an affinity to. Which group of people you feel I feel a resonance with, teenage pregnant mothers. I feel an affinity to the elderly. Usually that might show you the group of people that your soul was put on this planet to possibly serve. And that may show you where your purpose lies. But ultimately, I tell people, rather than waiting, just look around you and see how you can respond to the need in the moment. The need in the moment around you will often show you. Many years ago, before I began coaching, before I began helping people, I was completely broke, pretty much homeless, sleeping on friends' couches. And I would go to Pan Pacific Park in Los Angeles, and I would sit there and meditate and God, please show me my purpose. I want to save the world, save the planet. I had all of these big visions. And every day, one day, I saw this old, probably she must have been 85, 87-year-old Russian Jewish woman. She would walk to the grocery store and walk to her apartment every day. And every day I'd be praying, God, show me how I can transform the planet. And one day it was like God said to me, while you're sitting here thinking about your massive purpose, right in front of you is an elderly woman who clearly is in need of help, and you're not helping. And that made me realize, wait a second, let me get off of my butt. And if I want to be of service, let me start exactly where I'm at, exactly as I am, by serving whoever's in front of me right now, trusting that will lead to the next thing. And so I just jumped off the bench, stopped praying, and I would every day for about 3 to 4 months, I would carry this woman's groceries every morning. And that led to a conversation, which led to her introducing me to a few of her friends that led to some amazing things. And so start where you are, exactly as you are.
Start with who's right in front of you.
Yeah.
You need in the moment. That's so powerful. Do you feel like we need to release our past to realize our power, our future?
I think that, do we need to? I would say yes or no. Does it help to? Sure, I think it can help. But I think we don't necessarily have to wait to be completely healed. And when I'm completely healed and when I'm completely therapized and transformed, then I can step into a new future. But I think, can it help to let go of pain, judgment, shame, hurt, childhood wounds that might be unconsciously blocking us in certain ways from stepping forward into creating a new future? Absolutely, because often the baggage, the old energies, the pain, the hurt that we are carrying from the past can cloud our present and limit our capacity to fully express ourselves in the moment. And when we are not fully free to express ourselves in this moment right now, it's what we do right now that is effectively creating our future. So our future is then affected by the unresolved stuff from our past. So I think we can do both. I don't think it's about, waiting, because there's no such thing as being a perfect personality and a perfect human being. But I think part of the path is doing the inner work to clear the layers of conditioning that we develop so that we can connect more with our power now and create the future possibility, the future manifestation that we truly want.
Yeah. And I ask this because, we work with business owners to help them scale. And, if you're working with someone and you say, okay, this is the strategy that we need to employ, and they're doing it, but they just keep hitting this wall. What I find is there's something unconsciously, unconscious, a belief, something, a trauma maybe that is holding them back.
Yeah.
And so you could tell somebody all day long, go do this, go do this, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Information by itself is not enough, because many times we know what to do, but because of those traumas or the unconscious belief system or the sort of nervous system patterning, we're not able to get ourselves to move forward and do what we know we need to do. And often it's self-protection. Why is it so hard even to let go of certain beliefs? Like, I'm not worthy, and I'm not enough, and I'm not valuable. And so here you are, Allison, you might be teaching this entrepreneur, like, what, you are worthy, you deserve more, raise your prices, do these things, but there's something inside of them stopping them. And so often, perhaps it's their belief systems about I'm unlovable and I'm unworthy. And so, when I think about why is it sometimes so hard to let go of the belief of I'm unworthy and I'm unlovable, you know what I found?
What?
It's a form of control. And we often don't realize it's a very sneaky thing. You can tell someone, you are worthy, you do deserve it, you do deserve more. And they're like, yay. But deep down, they don't believe it. And they know they should let this belief go, but they still believe that they're not really deserving and worthy and lovable. It's a form of control. Holding on to the belief that I'm not worthy and I'm unlovable, why is it a form of control? We often made up an interpretation of reality as children based on external factors, mom, dad, not receiving things and having certain needs met. So we made up this belief, I'm not lovable. Because if I hold on to the belief that I'm not lovable, then I have some control. Because if I'm not lovable, Allison, even though it's not true, but if I make it about me that I'm not lovable, then, well, if I change my hairstyle and I lose some weight and I achieve $1 million or $1 billion, get the car, the Lamborghini, the big house, whatever it is, then I might be lovable. And so there's still this unconscious mechanism for control. Because if it's about me, if it's really that I'm not lovable, maybe I can do something about it. And the challenge is when we are driven by that belief, even when we attain the goal and the thing, we're still often not truly happy inside, which is why I see a lot of entrepreneurs that end up coming to me. They're like, I have everything. I have the plane. I have the jet. I have the billion, I have the whatever, and I still don't feel lovable, because nothing outside of yourself is going to give you that sense of feeling enough if you don't feel enough inside. And so in that example,
it's like an empty hole, right?
It's an empty hole
to fill it.
Yes, and it doesn't get fulfilled. So what has to be let go of? And the reason I say that belief is really about control. People often think control. I'm not being in control. What we have to let go of in that example is a realization that they, as in my parents, they were not capable. And often as children, it's very deep. It can be very painful and difficult to face and let go of this belief and accept that my dad, my mom, they weren't capable. Because if they weren't capable, then it's not about me. And if it's not about me, then I don't have control. And I don't want to feel the pain of that. And so let me just hold on to I'm unlovable and go through my life living that way. And then there's a never-ending sort of drive and chase to try and be lovable. So it can be very difficult to let go of certain beliefs until we become conscious and aware. And I think that's the key. Look, as children, we were born free. As children, we're in touch with our true essence, our true aliveness. A child is free. That child will jump on the table and sing. We don't care if we don't sound like Celine Dion or Bruno Mars or, Adele. We're just being fully
Yeah.
expressed and unlimited and what we are. So what happens? We're born into kind of a preset pattern of conditioning. We meet our parents. God bless them. Our parents, they're just doing the best that they knew how to do based on their childhood and their parents and their grandparents. And maybe dad was crazy. Maybe mom's an alcoholic. Maybe they're fighting all the time. Pain, abuse, dysfunction, mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual, verbal abuse in some way, trauma. Maybe they were great people, but they just didn't know how to meet our emotional needs in some way. And that was painful. And so two things happen. The first thing is we learn all sorts of strategies to shut down. It's self-protection. Shut down, disconnect, not feel. We start learning how to control and manage our environment, close our hearts, because if I close my heart, disconnect from my feeling capacity, keep my heart closed, then I don't have to feel the pain of nobody's there. I don't have to feel the pain of abandonment. I don't have to feel the pain that my needs aren't being met. And so now we go through life within this sort of pattern of control. And then it worked for us when we were 5. It worked for us when we were 10. It worked for us when we were 15, but it stops working for us as we become adults. And then we learn all sorts of strategies to become who we think we need to be in order to get love, validation, and approval. We develop a role, we develop a mask, we develop a persona, and become who we think we need to be to get loved and validated. And now we kind of contort ourselves into this version of ourselves, into the shape, and we think the version of ourselves that we've become is who we are. The challenge is it's not who we are, it's just what we've learned to be in order to function and survive. And so
and that's exhausting, right? Because to carry that, because you've molded yourself because you thought this is the way to become loved, let's say.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's this split of who you really are and then this persona.
Yes. And often the version of ourselves that we've become to some degree has helped us succeed. The version of ourselves that we've become to some degree has helped us get love, has helped us build this business, has helped us get to a certain level. But if I've split off from the most essential parts of myself, that's where many of us, we feel empty and we feel unhappy. And even as entrepreneurs, many people come to me and they're like, I'm drinking myself to the grave. I have no relationship with my wife, with my kids, like I'm so disconnected from my own truth. And that's often when people find me, or that's often when people have enough pain. It's often when they decide to do the inner work to deal with their conditioning in their past so that they can connect to their truth again.
Yeah, when the pain starts becoming louder and louder. Maybe it's the true self that's screaming like, let me out.
I think we have to. Me. I think we have to be willing to start with the truth. And that can be a very difficult thing. Like one of the things that I think keeps us stuck and blocked as human beings are all the ways that we lie to ourselves. Mm-hmm. We stay in relationships that we know are not aligned. We know. Mm-hmm. We betray ourselves and say yes when we mean no. We work jobs that we hate. When we know we no longer feel alive. This is no longer in alignment with who we truly are anymore. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes we even get, shall we say, caught up in a trap of success. We do something, it works. We keep doing it. It works. So we keep doing it. But now we're no longer growing. We're no longer evolving. But we don't feel we can let go because, what will happen if I let go? Because what I'm doing is actually working, And so I think we have to be willing, like a first place people can start is that willingness to tell the truth to themselves. And I just invite people to sit with, okay, like what lies am I telling myself? Just sitting with.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's powerful, isn't it?
What lies am I telling myself? And just to sit with it, like, what am I pretending to not know? And just feel it. I tell people you can take the pressure off of yourself to take any action, because sometimes the fear of the consequence is what blocks us. The ego kicks in as a self-protective mechanism, and then we go into the smoke screen of confusion. So if you take the pressure off of yourself, like you don't have to break up, you don't have to divorce, you don't have to blow up your company, sell your company, you don't have to make any changes, but just acknowledge the truth. I am not happy and I'm
Mm-hmm.
scared. You don't have to do
Mm-hmm.
anything, but just get into a relationship with the truth.
Yeah.
I am no longer in love. Just breathe into that. Just feel that.
Yeah.
I have an alcohol problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting into a relationship with the truth is the beginning of transformation, is the beginning of change, is the beginning of healing, is the beginning of the possibility of reinventing yourself. And that's the beginning right there. If we can
Yeah.
just start
Wow.
telling ourselves the truth.
Yeah, and giving ourselves the space to do that. We help business owners. They often come to us. They've been stuck maybe 10, 20 years.
Mm,
But they started with a passion
mm,
somewhere along the way because of all the demands. And, they're in that 7, 8, sometimes even 9 figures, like you said. But with all the demands and working day and night in the business, they've lost the passion or forgot what it was, or they're on autopilot and they don't even
mm,
realize that they're there, right?
mm.
So, do you think that's it, that they just need to stop and say, what's the truth? I mean, how do they get that passion back?
Yeah, I think they have to sit with the truth for a moment, because maybe the fact that they don't have the passion is a sign that what they're doing is no longer authentically aligned, is no
Mm-hmm.
longer true, is no longer real, is no longer what they're meant to be doing. Because ultimately, as human beings, we're not meant to stay the same. We're not meant to keep doing the same thing over and over again. We're meant to grow and evolve. And so, if you've been doing something for 20 years, I think it's quite natural that you reach a point of growth and evolution where you hit that point of dissatisfaction. When you reach that point of dissatisfaction, that's not a bad thing. That is often a sign of growth.
Yeah.
But many times, what we do is we reach that point of dissatisfaction, we lose the passion, and then we avoid it, and we just keep doing it. And so I think
Yeah.
if we're willing to sit with, okay, let me just be really, really honest with myself as to what I'm really feeling. And that might be sitting for a moment, taking inventory and saying, I've outgrown this. And it
Yeah.
scares me because I don't know what's next. And that's scary. And I don't want to admit that I've outgrown this, because what I'm doing is kind of working, pays the bills, but I'm not happy. I'm just
Yeah.
on autopilot. I'm just phoning it in. I'm just a sort of a robot, a machine that's just going, but I don't feel like I'm growing. Ultimately, as human beings, if we're not evolving, if we're not expanding, if we're not becoming more of who we truly are, we're basically dying. We are devolving. And so I would ask everyone to just sit with the truth. What is the truth? Also sit with, like, what is it that if you were really honest and for a moment, you were to take money out of the consideration, not that it's not a consideration, but you would just, for consideration's sake, take money out of the consideration and ask yourself, what is it that my soul is guiding me to do? What is my deep heart and soul? And if money was not an object, what is the truth of what I feel? What is the truth of where I'm being guided to next? And what is it that I feel I'm meant to express and do next, but maybe scares me?
Mm-hmm.
Because often the next level of your life requires the next level of you. And the next level of you requires that you let go of who you were, requires that you let go of what was, requires that you let go so that you can express the next. You can't manifest that next level being the old version of yourself. And
Right.
so it's natural that you get to the point of either losing a bit of passion or dissatisfaction, which isn't
Mm-hmm.
bad. To me, that's a signal that you are outgrowing your current reality. The life
Right.
that you've created is kind of too small for what your soul is seeking to become. And that takes a profound honesty and willingness and courage to say, What's next? The question I like to ask is not just like, what do I want? To me, the old paradigm, which is the ego-based model of creating, is all about, what do I want? You might get what you thought you wanted, only to realize that what you thought you wanted is not what you really wanted. It's what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were. But if you're not in touch with who you really are, then what you thought you want will never truly satisfy you, even when you achieve it. So the question I invite people to ask, first, as a foundation, then you can become very practical, is what is the deepest truth in my heart? What is my deep knowing and intuition telling me? What is my soul, for lack of better word? What is my soul guiding me to do? What is that? What is that my soul seeking to express? And then take the time to feel into that, to listen to that, to tune into that, to align with that. Then you can bring your sort of mind, your manifestation, your goal setting, your marketing, your money, your resources, your strategy in sync with the truth of what it is that is seeking to emerge from the deeper part of you, because that will often point you in the direction of your purpose and what you are really, really here to do and contribute in this life.
I just wrote that down. What is the deepest truth in my heart? And just sit with that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
The other thing you said that really struck me, Kute, was the dissatisfaction is actually a good thing. It's a sign that you have outgrown, which you should be doing anyway, because we should be evolving. So the fact that you would be satisfied with that all the time forever, it means that you are not evolving.
Likely you may not be evolving, because if you evolve in yourself, if you evolve and develop your consciousness, you won't be the same person that you were when you started that venture and that business. Yeah. You will not be, you're like, Allison, I'm sure I'm going to take a wild guess. You weren't doing exactly what you're doing 25 years ago.
Oh, gosh, no.
Right. Probably not. Right. Yeah. And so I'm sure you've been through so many. I mean, I heard something about acupuncture, like holistic health. I'm like, you've evolved. And that evolution is a natural expression of your essence, of your being, of your soul's growth and development. And so we should be outgrowing our current expression, and the current expression will not be your expression in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years. It shouldn't be. And so get excited when you feel like, I'm beginning to lose my passion a bit. I'm beginning to lose, I'm getting a bit, get excited, flip it and reframe it from, oh my God, something's wrong, to, okay, maybe I've outgrown this. And so what is next? We're often afraid of the what is next, because that's the unknown, but that's where the growth and evolution really is. There's often also a few reasons why I think things get stuck. You talked about getting stuck, and so let me speak to that, because it might add a few nuances to the conversation. Like if you're stuck or you're not quite manifesting what you're setting out to, number one, it might be that the goal that you set or what you are doing currently, and we're talking more, on a internal spiritual level, because that's where I come from. So it'll add another dimension for your listeners to consider. The goal or the vision that you're pursuing may not be the right goal, or may not be the goal that is authentically aligned with your true soul's purpose. So in other words, you're doing what you think you should be doing. You're doing what your parents told you to do. You're doing what society expects. You're doing what everyone expects you to do, but it's not truly in alignment with your deepest heart, with your truth. You're just doing it. And so sometimes things don't manifest because we're not aligned with our soul. We're not aligned with our heart. And that plays out many times when we're not truly aligned. Unconsciously, deep down, we don't want it to manifest. And unconsciously, we show up in life in a certain way. I don't want to say to sabotage the manifestation, but we kind of repel things from happening because deep down, we don't want it to. So if things aren't manifesting, you want to step back rather than forcing and asking yourself, is the vision and the goal that we're going for, is it real? Is it authentic? Yeah. Is it true? Is is it in sync with the purpose for my life? That's number one. Number two, it just genuinely may not be the time yet, in the marketplace, in the consciousness of the collective. You might have the right goal, the right vision, the right book, the right product, but the marketplace isn't quite ripe yet and ready yet at this time. And so you have to just be patient, pivot, adjust, prepare yourself, prepare your company so that when the timing does unfold, you're ready to, take that next step. The third thing is really specifically an inner dimensional sort of spiritual reason. And that is I come from the perspective that we are souls. We're souls. We incarnate into this human experience. For me, life is like a university for our soul's growth and evolution. And life is a classroom, and everything is a classroom. I look at everything in life as a growth and learning opportunity. For me, real success is not simply, even though it's one metric, is not simply the attainment of a goal, because I know many people that attain the goal and are miserable. Real success is the degree to which I become the highest version of myself, and the degree to which I learn the lessons inherent in any situation. To me, your boss is your teacher, your employees are your teacher, your business is your teacher, your husband, your wife, everything and everyone is really your teacher if life is a university. And so if you're stuck and not going to the next level, there might be an internal reason. The internal reason being you have not learned the lesson that your soul is seeking to learn where you're at the level you're at, with who you're with in the current situation, dynamic, or relationship. Or there is still some internal healing that is necessary on an inner level to make you available for that next level. And so if that is the case, you may want to look at the inner level as well and say, what lessons have I not learned here? What have I not graduated emotionally, spiritually, mentally, yet in this dynamic and situation? What is the internal healing I need to do so that I'm actually open and receptive to the next level of abundance, the next level of success? Sometimes we don't realize, as an example, we are afraid of that next level of visibility, the next level of success, because, I grew up not wanting to be seen, or even I grew up, I had a client who he was abused, sexually abused when he was a kid. So unconsciously, he made up that being seen is not safe. It's not safe to be seen. And so as much as he was trying to build his business, as doing all of the strategies that you talk about to build his business, deep inside, there was an internal conflict of, I can't be seen, because if people see me, then they can hurt me, because when I was seen as a kid, I was hurt. And so there was this internal conflict of not wanting to be seen. And so that was playing out even in his business and his manifestation. So I think we have to look at what are the lessons I haven't learned and what is the healing I need to do. Because when we learn the lessons where we are with who we're with and we develop internally, that's the key that spiritually, mentally, emotionally, on an inner level, the inner game of success unlocks the key to the next level of our life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much here. I could talk about this all day. We do this exercise at some of our events called future pacing, and where we have people partner up and they have to talk as if whatever that deeper calling, whatever it is that they want to create with their business, their life, that it has already happened. And they have to talk for 5 minutes or
Beautiful.
7 minutes and stay in character. And it's hard for them to first get into it, but when they do, many times they are in tears.
Wow.
To just speak it as if
Yes.
then it becomes more real, because like you said, there's, I think, a part of us that hides from it because we know we are capable, but it feels scary. It feels uncomfortable. My husband, we've been together going on 19 years next month.
Wow.
And, he had his business. He was in the furniture industry, like cubicles, workstation industry for almost 30 years.
Wow.
And as this business that I'm in, we've been in this company now 14 years. But the passion was really taken off, and I'm feeling so on purpose. He was at a place where it was the opposite. He just felt like this wasn't filling him up, but it's what he knew. For so
Exactly.
many years. He made really good money at it.
Yep.
And he was a good provider in the family, all this good stuff. And here I am feeling like, whoo, I'm like having a blast. And he's just, but it was all really, he was amazing in business, but he couldn't see how he would apply it other places. I kept saying, come join me in this business. You are so smart. You are incredible at strategies, brilliant. And he just really struggled with that for the longest time. Like, I need to figure out what my purpose is. And I love what you say, because I think that the reason he went through that was because he had outgrown it.
Yes.
He had evolved beyond it, and it wasn't filling him up.
Yes.
And so what ended up happening, it took a while. He's been we've worked together in this company now for, I think, going on 5 years,
Wow.
which has been incredible. But even beyond that, he does these seminars called Soul Man, and he works with men who have felt stuck and have lost their purpose.
Wow.
So it's just been fun to see that evolvement for him, stepping into his highest calling and so forth. And so, for any of you that are listening here today, no matter where you're at in your trajectory of life, the things that Kute is sharing here, it's never too late, wherever you are. And you have your book. We haven't really touched on it, but I would love, just for a moment, your latest book, The Magic of Surrender, Finding the Courage to Let Go. So can you how much does surrender have to do with living a life of purpose?
I think it has to do with everything, because even if you look at, not to use your husband as the example, but even if you look at that example that I think many of us can relate to, we've been doing a thing our entire lives. We know what to do. We're very good at it. We make money at it. We're successful at it. And now our entire identity is also based on that version of ourselves. And so to let go of what's working on an external level, to let go of that for the ego, which is what we perceive ourselves to be or mistakenly identify ourselves as, can feel terrifying and scary, because the sense of, even I'm not passionate, if I let this go, who am I going to be? If I let that go, which is a form of surrender. Anytime you let go of a relationship, of a story, of an idea, of a dream, it is a form of surrender, whether you call it that or not, And so I think in many ways, we're afraid of surrender. We resist surrender because for the ego, surrender feels like a death. Surrender feels like a death of who we believe ourselves to be. But not that we are, but it's what we've been conditioned to believe ourselves to be. And so I think that, in our culture, we kind of think that surrender is weak and surrender is passive, and that if you surrender, you won't manifest your goals or that next level. And I'm actually saying, no, if you truly surrender, you will. What if you actually manifested more or better? Maybe not what you thought, but better and more joy and more abundance. But what I have found, and I think it's important that we say this for your husband in that example, and for many of us that are like in that place of, but I'm no longer passionate about this thing. To really surrender and let go requires an acceptance, but also requires a grieving. And many times we avoid the grieving as a way to not let go. But if surrender is a death, like to let go of that 30-year-old career requires a death of who I was, requires a death of what I thought, requires a death. And so I would invite people to sit with, what do you need to grieve? And what have you not allowed yourself to grieve? Because sometimes we try to move forward to create the new, but we haven't honored and grieved the past. It's like trying to get into a new relationship with a romantic partner, but we haven't fully let go and felt the pain and grieved the breakup from the past, even though that was 5 years ago. And so what is it that you haven't allowed yourself to grieve? What do you need to allow yourself to grieve? Because to me, grief and grieving is a portal to true, authentic surrender. And so, yeah, to me, surrender is the password to freedom. I'm sure Gandhi, who was a lawyer, a successful lawyer, he had to let go of the career he thought he was going to have in order to find the true calling of his soul. And what if Gandhi didn't? Mother Teresa, I'm sure she was on another trajectory. I'm sure this wasn't her expected path. She had to let go of what she thought was in order to find her path.
Yeah. So, wow. So much wisdom shared here. I always love hanging out with you, Kute. So what is next for you? What are you working on? How can people get in touch with you?
Sure. I think a few simple ways. Definitely get the book on Amazon, The Magic of Surrender. I'm working on some really exciting things. What is next is, depending on when people listen to this, I'm doing, and maybe people feel inspired by the conversation, and maybe you feel a readiness to transform. Twice a year, I do a very special event to Bali. This is actually the last year I'm doing this event. Allison, I've done this event for 10 years.
Wow.
And we've transformed billionaires, celebrities, entrepreneurs, CEOs, presidents, leaders, game changers. And twice a year, I take leaders to Bali. And over 12 days, I take you through a life-changing, profound, experiential immersion seminar training that is designed to help free you from your past conditioning and connect you to your true essence and catapult you forward into living your true purpose in the world. So the next event is July the 28th through August the 8th. And then the final one will be December the 5th through the 16th of 2023. And so evolution, I'm creating new events as we speak and excited as to what's next.
Oh, very exciting. Well, if you're listening, definitely, I have watched video. I haven't attended that event. I've watched the video and man, it looks so amazing. And if you get to spend some time with Kute, it's really a gift.
Thank you.
So, Kute, thank you so much for
Appreciate
being
you.
here today. And I'm going to go back and listen to this again. I was actually taking notes. I don't usually do that, so that says a lot. And so thank you so much for being here. So thanks for listening to another episode of the SCALEit Method podcast. And if you want to build a scalable company that can thrive without you, which is what we're all about, and you're ready to get support, and all you need to do is reach out, apply for a complimentary scale session with my lead strategist at Pinnacle Global Network. And during your time together, they're going to do a deep dive into your business, figure out the gaps that are holding you back. On the call, they will give you solutions on the spot so that you can overcome those gaps specific to your business. So all you need to do is go to myscalesession.com and apply and schedule your time. Until next time, make decisions from where you're going, not from where you're at. Bye, everybody.